Ways starts in goal. Abdul Hamid, the only one in the side to play, is straight outside of his home country after a loan spell in France with Lens, occupies the right back position. Al Harbi keeps his place on the left, with Lajami replacing Al Shamat to join Al Amri and Al Tombaki in the back line. A shuffle in the midfield with Nasser Al Dasari coming in for Kano as he plays alongside Kaibari and Juwari, who moves back from a striking role, as Salem Al Dasari, whose goal against Uruguay put him joint 8th in the all-time Saudi top scorers. Still a little bit of a way off of Majid Abdullah 72, but he is on the road to get a couple more before he steps aside, and he takes his spot up front alongside Al Ali frontman Al Burkan. The referee is the Brazilian Rafael Claus, listed since 2015 at this level, experienced again in the Worlds and trusted with the 2024 Copa America final. He arrives with the tournament's officials already under a spotlight. We've seen Miguel Almiron's red card for covering his mouth, which was a great decision, VAR delays, disciplinary debates, and even a little flashpoint becoming a global argument in seconds. And Klaus has a match where the pressure is not bad blood, it is consequence. A card, a penalty, a VAR check, one moment of control or chaos could tilt this group sideways, or even on its head. Spain want lift-off, Saudi Arabia want a shockwave. Atlanta is ready, and so are we. Spain about to get us underway here in Atalanta, going from left to right in that red shirt, blue shorts and blue socks, as we are underway in Atlanta. Saudi Arabia not in their traditional dark green. They'll be going from right to left, as you may have surmised, in their all-white secondary strip, and it's Spain who are on the ball from the off, and it's what we will expect throughout this game, that they will try and dominate the possession and just control this game as they're on the attack early down the left-hand side. Cross comes in, but it's blocked by the first man. Comes back out to Rodri, 10 yards off the edge of the penalty area, and just held up by Pedri. Now shifted across down the right-hand channel to Lamine Yamal, trying to get on that trusty left foot. He loves to drive down the right and pull it back. Continues, though, on his right-hand side, puts the ball in, and it's defensively cleared out at the back by Al Tumbaki, who just manages to get his head onto it inside the 6-yard box. And Baina was lurking just behind, and inside the opening 60 seconds, pressure from Spain as Cucurella tries to send it forward, looking for the run down the left-hand side of Baina, but can't quite keep it in play as it goes out for a goal kick, and a relieved Mohamed Al-Owais in the Saudi Arabia goal. He plies his trade for Al-Ahly in Saudi Arabia, as we mentioned earlier. Only Saud Abdul Hamid plays his football outside of Saudi Arabia. The majority of players play for one of those top sides, Al Hilal, Al Nassr, Al Qadsiya as well, and then a few on the bench for Al Ettifaq. Well, plenty of changes that have happened over the years in the Saudi Pro League. Cristiano Ronaldo making his way over. Wasn't top scorer in the division this season. Spain look long to go to the left-hand side, and it's driving down the left once again is Baina. Brings back it in and tries to go for a shot. It takes a deflection on the way through and goes out for the first corner kick of the evening, of the afternoon, I should say, as Georgios Donis, the head coach for Saudi Arabia, already has a couple of early questions to be asked. The roof is closed here, which is why it does feel a little bit like an evening kick-off, and it's the evening where you are. It could even be the middle of the night if you are down in Oceania, and even early in the morning on the west coast of America. Yamal takes the corner short in towards Baina, continues it a little bit more central, back in towards Yamal, whose cross first time wasn't the best, and it's cleared out quite comfortably for Saudi Arabia, who will be quite content with how they were dealt with that first corner kick, and a little bit of pressure, but Spain gave it to them on a plate for the moment. Laporte sends it towards Cucurella, just hugging the touchline halfway inside the Saudi Arabia half. Has to come back towards Rodri, who wears those shorts, that shirt tucked into his shorts, something we used to see quite a lot in football. Something old school fans always used to demand, as Yamal puts a cross in towards the box, and it's knocked back again by Baina, who's been on the ball early, causing a bit of trouble in that Saudi Arabia back line, but it's a good ball from Yamal. He just dinked a little ball to the far side of the 6-yard box. Baina lost his man in Abdul Hamid over at the far post. Just got his header back, but it's comfortable goalkeeping from Alouais. No one in a red shirt able to get on the end of it, but it just shows the quality that they have, even in tight spaces, Spain. The game kicking off at 12 o'clock local time. Spain would feel would need to get a win more than anything. This is the second easiest game if you inverted commas, and Lamine Yamal lines up from distance on that occasion, but it goes well wide of the right hand post. But he's setting his stall out early. He only got 19 minutes in the last game, and he's wanting to make an immediate impact, something they couldn't do against Cape Verde. And as time went on, the game slowly fell out of favour, but Saudi Arabia and Uruguay also drew their opening game. And that is the question that will be asked apart from this, is nobody can confirm themselves going through or being knocked out in this, the second game of the three-game group. In the group, I apologise, but you can make a huge statement, and Spain will certainly want to do that after failing against the side that they really were expected to dominate. We've seen the likes of Germany against Curacao, a 7-1 win. That was what Spain were expecting to do as well. They did come into this the early favourites, European champions, and they are dominating the ball, as Saudi Arabia haven't been inside the Spanish half inside the opening 5 minutes, just camped deep inside. And Jonas Donis set his stall out rather early. You could tell from how he's planned his team with that back five, the inverted fullbacks, who are probably not going to be too inverted during this game, but it is back with Unai Simon in the goal away to the left-hand side, under a little bit of pressure, but manages to just squeeze it through in towards Pedri. Continues it in towards Lamine Yamal. Now there's a bit of space on the counter to just work it down the right-hand side. Nice little ball just tucked in towards Pedro Porro, who's crossed, again's intercepted, and then just hacked away at the second attempt by Al Tambakani. Tambakti, apologies, and clears out towards his near side. Yamal, what always seems like a little bit of extra long shorts that he does wear. Complete opposite what we used to see back in the 70s and 80s. Those too high shorts you really would have seen in the tournaments in those decades. As here comes Spain once again on the edge of the area. Rodri just trying to dink it forward, but it's just taken out nicely by the Saudi Arabia back line. They're all just camping on the edge of their own area and just getting a man in front of it, and now they can try and open up a space down this left-hand side. Saudi Arabia racing for his Al-Harbi down this near left-hand side. He's got two in front of him, though, in red. Has to come back in towards the middle, towards Al-Burkan, and his strike just comes off the Saudi man. And Salem just couldn't quite find the shot to go through on this near side. But it's a good run, and I will have to differentiate between the two. Al-Dessari's in the lineup, Nasser wearing number 6, Salem wearing number 10. They both play for Al Hilal. Salem's been known as the Saudi Messi, the Argentina slayer of 2022. He's still the player they look for when the game tightens. 26 goals and 108 appearances for the national team. Joint 8 scorers. Again, Yamal just dinks the ball with that trusty left boot, looking for a Spanish player at the far side of the box. It's broken though towards Cucurella on the edge of the penalty area. Now on the far left corner, Cucurella continues his run into the box, but good defending, and it comes off the Saudi man last at the back. Kaibari, he's one of the midfielders sitting in front of that back line, working himself back to try and help out, and it comes off him last for Spain's second corner in the opening 8 minutes, and they will look to put a little bit of pressure on Alouais in the goal. The 34-year-old goalkeeper. The game we'll keep talking about is that Argentina game, despite the fact that Argentina went to win it. This time it's played long towards the far side, and then the volley comes in, and it was an excellently worked corner on that occasion from Spain. It was a beautiful ball towards Dani Olmo. He's got 12 goals for the national team. He left Barcelona to Zagreb at the age of 17. He's a number 10 by instinct. But he can be useful almost everywhere, and just tried to flash one from the edge of the box. We've seen that a number of times from him and top quality players at this level. Spain win a free kick just inside their own half. Rodri just being pushed in the back, but Spain continuing to dominate inside the opening 10 minutes, 85% possession they've had, but it is the Saudi fans who are trying to get behind their team the most in the stands here. Saudi Arabia with just one win in their last 8 games, including friendly games. It's again down the left-hand side for Spain. Just hacked away inside the box from Nasser towards the left-hand side. Picked up by Pedro. Pushes it towards the right-hand side to bring Pedro Porro into the game, and he just continues it straight towards Lamau. Lays it back off towards Porro, who goes for goal, and once again over the top of the bar. And Spain just having testers from the edge of the area. Can't quite keep them down, but they are getting some early sighters on goal, but still nothing to do for the goalkeeper Alois from the 5 shots that Spain have had in the early stages of this contest. Spain themselves, they've been excellent. They weren't really one of the ones who were expected to go and light it up, and then Lamine Yamal came out of nowhere before the season, before the Euros, and all of a sudden belief came back and they ended up winning as it comes back across, and there is the man you're talking about at the back post. And it's Lamine Yamal. Spain forced the door open, and Lamine Yamal has got La Roca rocking. They find their rhythm early on, and you cannot say it hasn't been coming. It was a beautiful ball down the left-hand side. We said he found his groove that helped them win the Euros. Well, he's found his groove inside the opening 11 minutes, and he's opening the scoring as well for Spain. From Cape Verde frustration to early Saudi punishment, it's the spark that De La Fuente needed, and Spain have the lead. It's Spain 1, Saudi Arabia 0. And what a lovely goal that is. They've had a few sighters from the edge of the area, but this time it was just steady, worked play to the left-hand side. The overlap came, the space opened up. A beautiful ball in towards Bainer, who just put it into that corridor of uncertainty. Sorry, it was Oyarzabal, put it into that corridor of uncertainty. The keeper nowhere near it, the defence nowhere near it, and sliding in at the back post is Lamine Yamal, and he is back in the game and back scoring for the national team. And it's the dream start. They wouldn't have asked for more, the European champions. They want to ensure that the final game against Uruguay is one that has a lot less pressure on it. They want to win the group. They want to avoid difficult ties against sides that will win their group stages. To Spain, and when it is all down to head-to-head in this tournament, which personally not a big fan of. We've already seen a few sides that can't be touched at the top of the groups despite being within points tallies of teams around them, and Mexico, USA and Germany could all still technically be caught if it was based on goal difference. Maybe less so Germany after their 7-1 win, but then the likes of Haiti, Turkey and Tunisia, who look to be getting the wooden spoon, are all out of the competition so far. But had it been the same format as 2022, they may have still had some belief as Lamine Yamal picks it up on the edge of the area, feeds it through, and Spain looking for 2, but it's good keeping from Alois, and then it just comes back out to the edge of the area. Dani Olmo just having a strike high and wide over the top of the crossbar, but once again Saudi Arabia just causing themselves a little bit of trouble on the edge of their own penalty area. Lamine Yamal trying to capitalise. It was just lost by Kebari. Yamal unselfishly tried to feed it in to the left-hand side, and then it came back out towards Dani Olmo, who couldn't quite keep his shot down. But Spain Unbeaten since they lost in the Nations League final on penalties to Portugal almost a year ago, or over a year ago now. Since then, they've won 7 and drawn 4. Unbeaten since that moment. Excellent form coming into this. They beat Peru 3-1 in one of the warm-up games. They drew with Iraq, which did ask a couple of questions of the side. They also drew to 10-man Egypt back in March after a 3-0 win to Serbia. They also hadn't played the finalissima against Argentina. The tournament of the various winners of the other competitions, because they couldn't agree where it was going to be played, so they just cancelled it entirely. But the one thing that's not going to cancel Spain today is this Saudi Arabia defence, or at least not for the time being. But it's 15 minutes gone, Spain leading through that Yamal goal. Inside the opening 10 minutes, a lovely little finish at the back post, and is controlling the ball, controlling the game. And it comes over to the left-hand side once again as it's coming towards the right-hand side, and it's just trying to looking for the far corner. It was Benya, who's had a couple of sighters from the edge of the area, just trying to test himself once more. Just tucked it onto his right. Well, once again, going well over the top of the bar. Saudi Arabia managed to win themselves a throw in halfway inside their own half, and they'll be relieved just to have a little bit of a breather. It's what you don't get too many times whilst the game is flowing, at least. We won't talk too much about the hydration breaks and fans' opinions of the hydration breaks. But we certainly enjoy the 5-second rule that the referees now have in this competition. We're well over the halfway stage of the group stage now. They're coming thick and fast, and in the final round of the group games, all sides in the same competing group will play at the same time. I can't quite remember the game that brought that in. I think it was in Austria, to do with Austria. I think it was Austria and somebody, it might have been Austria and Hungary, both played out a draw because they both knew that they would go through, and that had to change the rules. You see it over time how the rules do change, as Lamine Yamal just puts a cross in from this near side, but it's just too close to the keeper. Meat and drink for Alouaseis, but he's now going to get down to his right-hand side from another good effort from the edge of the box, and this time it was Oyarzabal testing his sights from range, and Alouaseis has plenty to do. We saw it in the game last night with the Curaçao keeper making so many saves. 15 saves he made last night to give his side their first ever point in this major competition. 17 minutes gone in this game. Remember, you can watch the games via your local broadcaster, wherever that may be, as Dani Olmo breaks free, and it looks like he was fouled halfway inside the Saudi half, but the referee, the Brazilian, just waves it away. It's with Saudi Arabia on the far side. Looked like it may have gone out as well, but the linesman disagrees. Trying to work it towards his left-hand side and can't quite find the room, and they have to go back to Nassar inside his own half. But Saudi Arabia just trying to keep hold of the ball and just set their own tempo for the time being. They've been under plenty of pressure. The Mexican wave has already started. It can't be that boring from the fans inside the ground, particularly if you are Spanish. They've controlled this game. They've had plenty of shots. It's certainly not been a boring start to the contest whatsoever. Saudi Arabia will need to try and find a goal, but down the left-hand side, Spain come once again, and then the cross back towards across the 6-yard box from Oyarzabal. This time goes wanting. Nobody there in a red shirt. He was looking again for Yamal, who I don't think he expected the Real Sociedad frontman to win that ball, but he stretched his legs. Did Spain's Euro final hero. He missed Qatar through injury, and now he's arrived with those big size 12 boots and already has an assist to his name in this game as a free kick. No, it's not a free kick, it's going to be a goal kick to Saudi Arabia. It looked like a shove in the back, but you have seen the referees be a little bit more lenient on those tackles where defenders get themselves between man and ball. As soon as they feel a touch, they just throw themselves down, which it has been great to see. There's been a couple of questionable decisions across the tournament, but nothing more major than the Lionel Messi potential red card, which personally I think it was a clear cut and dry red card for the maestro. As much as I do love Lionel Messi, I love watching him his entire career. Even though I am an Englishman, I always like to see him do well, but on that occasion you had to really question the officiating, how it didn't even go to VAR. Whilst the VAR on this occasion this evening is manned by Nicolas Barragan, the linesman supporting Rafael Clauses, Danilo Manis and Rodrigo Correa, and fourth official Andres Noguera, as Spain once again come down the left hand side and try to feed it through, but Saudi Arabia defence is back there, but all they can do is put it out for another corner kick to those in red, and it came from their own throw-in. It was lazy, they were closed down quickly. It fell in towards Oyarzabal, who just raced in towards the area. It was an excellent sliding tackle in the end from Lajami, the 30-year-old Al Hilal defender. His switch from Al Nassr to Al Hilal caused quite a stir in Saudi Arabia, but they value the defender who can bring the ball out, and on that occasion doing the defensive work as well. As the corner comes to near post, flick back on towards the edge of the area. Dani Olmo has a strike for it, not quite found its man, but still falls down, and it's tucked away, and Spain have a 2-0 lead. And Oyarzabal goes from provider to goal scorer, and Spain double their advantage 21 minutes into this game. It's Spain 2, Saudi Arabia 1. And this time the set piece worked from the far side. It was Oyarzabal who got the flick on. It caused all sorts of trouble inside the area. Saudi Arabia couldn't clear it. Dani Olmo's strike from the right-hand side of the box was hit really poorly, but it managed to squirm and squeeze its way through to Mikel Oyarzabal, who just tucks it in with his left boot into the opposite side of the box. He was offside from the initial shot from Olmo, but then the header and the knockdown, I think, from Laporte last. And he's kept himself onside and then just tucked it in towards the far corner. And Spain, who want revenge after that Cape Verde draw, are getting it this evening and lead now in a comfortable position by 2-0. And the Spanish fans certainly couldn't ask for more. The referee just waiting for a VAR check to go through, and it has been checked, and Spain have been given the goal. The favourites have found their voice here in Georgia. And Oyarzabal is causing the Saudis a world of trouble. And when we're halfway inside the first half, as soon as that goal goes in, you do wonder why the referee doesn't just bring the players over for that hydration break rather than restarting it and setting and then having a hydration break in about 30 seconds time after kick-off. But Spain could potentially add a third beforehand, and maybe that might be the justification for it. Yamal down the right-hand side with the right boot, just tries to whip it across, but it goes over the top of everyone, but chasing it down over on the far side is Benya. Cuts back onto his right, feeds it kindly across towards Pedro Porro. Has enough time to try and pick out Cucurella on the far side, back in towards Olmo, and then it is tucked away. And Oyarzabal has his second, and Spain have their third. and it's turning into an absolute riot inside this first half, and nothing is stopping Oyarzabal from squeezing it in from the 6-yard box. Saudi Arabia cannot live with this Spanish side, and they set out before this competition as the favourites. Questions were asked of this Spanish side after the Cape Verde draw, but those questions are going answered in this game. It's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia 0, but Saudi Arabia poor at the back, way too much time, giving too much space, not allowing I should say, Spain to have the freedom of the ball and of the box. The ball came towards Pedro Porro on the edge of the area. 4 players refused to close him down. He just whipped it into the far side of the box. Cucurella's knocked down towards Dani Olmo. It was then flicked on towards Oyarzabal, who just peeled off his man, kept on side by Lajami, who was the last man back for the Saudis, and just tucks it in from 2 yards out and has his second in the space of 2 minutes. And Spain leading comfortably now by 3-0. And I guess they put me into place about why you don't have the hydration break straight after that second goal. The game restarted, and now we will have the hydration break on the pitch. But Spain have punished Saudi Arabia inside the opening 25 minutes of this game. What a start it is for the European champions here. They needed to get their first win on the board. The side making their 17th finals appearance, winners back in 2010 when they also won the Euros either side of that competition as well. They were knocked out in the group stages in 2014. They were knocked out in the round of 16 in the 2 tournaments before this one in 2018 and 2022. But now they would love to go one further than that. Second in the world rankings. They've never been below 25th. Whereas for Saudi Arabia, this is their 7th finals appearance. Their best was a round of 16 back in 1994. That's looking increasingly unlikely with this result. They aren't out of it, even if they lose in this game. 3 points should just about get a few sides over the line. There's 8 of the 12 third-place teams will go through to the round of 32. The first time that will be in a major in this major competition. They've gone out in the group stage in every other iteration of this tournament, bar that 1994 round of 16. They had 12 years without making it between 2006 and 2018. Saudi Arabia currently ranked 61st in the world. They were 21st at 1 point, and they're worst 126th. But Spain doing what Spain seem to always do. I say seem to always do against Saudi Arabia. They do always do against Saudi Arabia, and that is win. The only previous tournament meeting came in that 2006 competition in Germany. Spain winning 1-0 with that Juanito goal. The last time they did meet, Spain won 5-0 in a friendly in 2012. And they are on course to do just that again. Saudi Arabia might have one of the great World Cup upsets on their CV, despite the great tournament upsets on their CV, but even though Argentina did go on to win the competition, and when Spain lost in their opening game in 2010, they also went on to win. So it's not always how you start in these tournaments, it is how you finish. And we're back underway in the 28th minute of this game as Spain once again back on the ball, just trying to feed it through is Lamine Yamal, looking for Dani Olmo, but intercepted this time by Saudi Arabia. And Georgios Donis, the Saudi manager, just surely asked his players to just try and settle themselves down, keep their shape, and close down this Spanish side as much as they can. And that is always easier to say than do for any side in the world, never mind a side 61st in the world rankings. As here comes Spain once again, opening up down that left-hand side. Plenty of their balls have come from that left channel, and once again just trying to whip it in towards the box. Cucurella continues his run, but this time it's an excellent decision making from Abdul Hamid, who just sticks out that right boot and just intercepts the ball, but can only clear it as far as Rodri. Everyone back on the edge of their own area. Still for Saudi Arabia. Dani Olmo just trying to squeeze it through. Tackles come flying in from Saudi Arabia, but just lose the ball again. And now Yamal goes back onto his right, and this time tried to go alone, but that goes closer to the corner flag than it goes to the goal. But taking a challenge on the way through is Pedro Porro, just asking questions of the referee. Half an hour into this game, and the referee is going to bring out a yellow card for the challenge and will bring it back. And it is Salem, the man, who goes into the referee's book for that challenge earlier on. It then went out towards Lamine Yamal, who had a strike on goal. And the Saudi captain, the first to be punished by the Brazilian referee, which is certainly a league that has plenty of cards and bookings. You have to be a pretty fierce referee to take charge of games over in Serie A in Brazil. Cruzeiro and Atletico Mineiro had 23 red cards in one of their earlier games this season. In the second game, they had 3 red cards in that one as well. You want to see what happened in that 23-man red card fest? It's better to go and watch the highlights at the end of the game. Pure chaos. And the referee pretty much sending everybody off, including plenty of players on the bench as well. But I don't think we'll see too much of that between these two sides. We're hoping for a little bit of fight, though, from Saudi Arabia as this game goes on. We're just over a third of the way through this contest. The La Fuente side are repairing the damage that was done by Cape Verde. Uruguay will be looking on. They'll be expected to pull out of a result there, as Cucurella has a heavy touch and almost gives the ball away, but recovered by Rodri. His second touch is a loose one as well, and it's then picked up by Saudi Arabia, just creeping inside the Spain half for one of the very limited times they have done, but immediate retreat back towards their goalkeeper, Alois, inside his own penalty area. We saw some excellent results yesterday in this competition. Japan with the late win against Tunisia, 4-0. I should say late in the evening win. It certainly wasn't a late win. 4-0 against Tunisia, who will likely have the wooden spoon in this competition unless they can pick up a point in their final game. Ecuador couldn't get past the Curacao one-day keeper. They did draw 8 times 0-0 in the qualification, did Ecuador, and it looked like they were going to do that as well against the Ivory Coast before being punished late on there. Germany getting a 2-1 win, a very, very late win from Denis Undav, the Stuttgart man, to breathe a sigh of relief for the Germans. And we also saw Netherlands smash Sweden 5-1.
after they also won 5-1 in their opening game, as well as Lamine Yamal trying to dance his way towards the byline on this near right-hand side, but just runs into a little bit of traffic in Saudi Arabia to clear the lines. 12 minutes to go before half-time, and since that break, Saudi Arabia just trying to get themselves on the ball a little bit more. Getting inside the Spain half now, but it can't quite be backheeled through behind the back of the Spain line, but Saudi Arabia still trying to make their way forward. As Al Harbi, who just surrounded by four, just tried a little bit of trickery to feed it in towards Salem up front. And you probably also shouldn't forget about Paraguay's 1-0 win against Turkey as well. 10 men after Almiron was sent off for covering his mouth in a confrontational situation, which is excellent to see. The rules that are being applied, I'd like to see the 5-second rule and that rule brought in. I certainly don't want to see the hydration rates coming after this competition. On the edge of the area is Pedro Porro towards Lamine Yamal on the right-hand corner. Tries to then dart his way down the right-hand side and decides to come back with Pedro Porro still on the ball. Now he darts again and Porro finds the pass, but he's crowded out by two this occasion and has to work it back in towards Kubasi, the Barcelona man, who hasn't had too much to do in this opening half, but now finds a nice ball through, but the referee says the ball's been won by Saudi Arabia, who are going to try and score from 70 yards. Trying to catch Unai Simon off his line. Was Al Amri, the man who scored in the last game against Uruguay. And I think that could be classed as the first shot. Not sure it was on target, but the keeper's giving it away, and it's off the top of the crossbar for Oyarzábal, looking for a first half hat-trick. And Alois just getting himself in an absolute muddle inside their own penalty area. It was poor from Kaibari. He got a touch onto it, almost took it out for a corner kick. Alois tried to pass his way out of his own box, gave it straight towards Oyarzábal, who just tried to chip it over the top of the goalkeeper. He beat the keeper, scrambling back to his goal line, but it just bounces off the top of the crossbar. And he almost had an absolute stunner of a first half. He's had an excellent first half as it is, with 2 goals and an assist. There's again on the left-hand side a shot from Rodri on this occasion, forces Alois into a save. And his gloves must be stinging from the action inside this first half. 13 shots Spain have had, looking for a 14th with Lamal, and he does go for goal, but he can't quite curl it back around. But they're forcing the keeper into a couple of saves. He's made 2 good saves in the game. Alois, he's picked the ball out of the back of his net on 3 occasions. And the rest of the shots going well wide of the goal from Spain, but they're running absolute riot. Saudi Arabia looks to try and get behind the back line, but good work from Unai Simon, who has to be on his toes. He hasn't had much to do. He certainly has been trying to keep himself warm away to the left-hand side. The trusted number 1, the Nations League penalty hero, the Euro winner. He's still the man to keep the shift between the sticks for the national side, and his 60th appearance for Spain for the 29-year-old. As Spain have the ball inside their own half, an unusual sight in this game so far. Now they're quickly, though, inside the Saudi Arabia half. They've had 72% of the possession, which I should add is still more than Arsenal had against Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League final a couple of weeks ago. It's always a fun fact as Dani Olmo tries to break his way through a last-ditch tackle, back out towards Yamal on this right-hand side. Can't quite get the ball out of his feet. Tucks it nicely, though, back in towards Pedri. Has 3 Saudi players in front of him. Dani Olmo to his left-hand side. Finds Olmo, who comes back out to this near side towards Yamal. Plays it in towards the right-hand channel towards Pedro Porro, just playing the triangles between themselves here, Spain, and just trying to work it behind the Saudi Arabian defence. Can't quite find a way through on that occasion. Rodri then decides to shift it towards the left-hand side and towards Cucurella. Continues it over towards Benya. back in towards the middle, towards Cucurella. Rodri now over to Pedro Porro on this right-hand side. Coming back towards Lamine Yamal. Finds the runner down the right-hand side. Crossed in from Pedro Porro, but can't quite find anybody apart from Cucurella. A yard or so off the far touchline, level with the edge of the Saudi penalty area. Work back in towards Rodri. Tries to whip it towards the right-hand side, looking for Yamal once again, but the header down from Al-Harbi can only find Pedro Porro. 6.5 minutes to go inside what has been a comfortable first half for Spain as they look to try and add a fourth before the first half whistle. It's certainly been the most emphatic first half we've seen from any side in this competition. We've seen some good performances in second half, particularly from Germany, as Cucurella trying to race and get hold of the ball. I'm certainly sure he will be far happier now that he has left Chelsea and joined Real Madrid in what will be a very interesting season. Now Jose Mourinho has found his way back. There's been plenty of talk about Vinny Jr., Mbappe, the split between the side. You're going to have a man that can control that. Jose Mourinho is certainly one of the managers to do that. He asked for full control of the players and the starting lineup, and he will have an impact one way or the other. And Dani Olmo almost having an impact down the middle moments ago. Another excellent tackle from Lejami, who has caused some problems on the back line, but he's also put some excellent last-ditch tackles in as well to keep the scoreline down. And earlier in this contest, it was the Saudi fans who were the loudest inside this ground. Well, they're all but quiet now. It's the Spanish fans really enjoying themselves. But Saudi Arabia win a free kick 10 yards inside the Spain half as Nasser, who's always been a big game player for Al Hilal, the sort that was already delivered in the Asian Champions League final. He won the 2025 Asian Player of the Year, a scorer in the last two competitions as well. Lucky to try and get inside the Spain's half at this point, but they are over on the right-hand side, looking to try and get a cross in towards the box. Almost works its way through. It took a deflection on the way in, and it had to stay alive. Kubasi at the back to get there ahead of the Saudi front man, Salem, who was racing in from the left-hand side, but Kubasi stuck with him. Had to be alive and intercepted and cleared the line. Spain now back inside the Saudi half once more. Halfway inside the Green Falcons half, who were hoping to stun Spain here in Atalanta. But it is them that has been stunned inside the first 45 minutes. Yamal on the ball again. Plenty of touches. Spain just gone over the 300 pass mark in this first half. Saudi Arabia just the 104 themselves. It comes back to Oyarzabal, gets a second bite at the cherry, and it can't quite get his shot on target. Just drags it well wide of the keeper's left-hand post. And those size 12 boots causing all sorts of trouble in the Saudi back line. He had a first attempt that was seemingly blocked. In fact, it wasn't the first attempt. He hit the ball with his standing foot. It then came back off. Abdul Hamid fell kindly towards the Euros hero, and on that occasion couldn't quite sweep it home from the left-hand side of the penalty area. But Saudi Arabia come with the ball down the left-hand side, just asking for runners, and there's just no space for them to work. They have won a throw-in, excellently done by Al-Jawar, the Al-Qadisiyah man. 7 goals to his name across all competitions in the last season. Can make a game look easy, the young playmaker. He carried a lot of the weight in Saudi's qualification, and just trying to do some work on that left-hand side there. Saudi Arabia having a little bit more possession inside the Spain half. Level with the edge of the Spanish penalty area, in the little ball through the back line, but what defending. That is over on the left-hand side by Benya. He's been doing it at one end, causing all sorts of trouble. This time, He puts in the sliding tackle that comes back off the Saudi man and wins his side a goal kick, and he fist pumps that just like he would if Spain had scored. They don't want to give anything up at the end of this first half and give Saudi Arabia a little bit of hope as a tackle goes in this time, and they will have a corner kick. Look, Kabasi was the last man coming in on the edge of his own penalty area, just sticks his foot out, but Saudi Arabia have their first opportunity to put a good ball into the box from a set piece. We said just before the start of the game that the majority of their chances will come from set pieces. And they have their first opportunity 60 seconds before we find out how many minutes will be added on at the end of this first half. It normally is either 5 or 6 at the end of the first half throughout the competition so far. But it's taken short instead, and that is just an absolutely shocking corner kick from Saudi Arabia. And now here comes Lamine Yamal to try and counter, but he just gets his timing all wrong on his first touch, and then the hospital ball almost goes back towards the goalkeeper. And in the space of 30 seconds, both sides just making an absolute mess of it. It was Al Jawar who decided to take the corner short towards the edge of the penalty area, in towards Salem, but his first touch was an absolute stinker and allowed Spain to clear their lines. And when you're 3-0 down against a side that sits second in the world rankings, the pre-tournament favourites, you have to just put the ball into the box in that situation. You have to test the keeper, test the defence. One mistake and you can find yourself with a way back into the competition in the game. 5 minutes are being added on. Dani Olmo sends it towards the left-hand side, in towards Rodri, continues it in towards Cucurella, opens up the space on the left towards Benya, brings it back onto his right-hand side, towards the edge of the area, towards Rodri, and the Spanish captain can't quite keep his shot down and puts it over the top of the bar. They're playing rugby Spain tonight. They would have had plenty of points for it going over the top of the bar. But they've also got plenty of goals to the name as well. Oyarzabal with 2 to his name and an assist as well. Yamo and Laporte with the assists inside the first half as well for Spain, who have still been putting plenty of pressure on this Saudi side, but they haven't added a goal to the name in the last 20 minutes. 3 goals in the space of 13 minutes, unlucky 13. Saudi Arabia inside this first 45-minute period. With Spain with the ball again inside the Green Falcons half, looking to just try and add an even more of a killer blow in stoppage time at the end of the first period. Pedro Porro with the ball, knocks it down towards your man on the right hand side, back in towards Rodri once again, tucks it back in towards Pedri, who has just been running riot alongside Rodri, who has the ball once more. Benya has Cucurella to his left-hand side, decides to come back in towards Pedri instead, finds Cucurella on the next attempt, and it comes off a Saudi man from the cross, and out for another corner kick to Spain, who will look to try and apply a little bit more pressure. They scored from a corner. Oyarzabal got the flick on initially before tucking it in after a Saudi mistake, but this time they go towards the edge of the area, and Spain once again not getting that corner kick right. When they've gone short, it's never worked, and when they put it in towards the area, they've always looked good. As Saudi Arabia trying to counter-attack, this time down the left-hand side, looks like the referee tried to play advantage. There's a Saudi man taken out in the middle of the pitch. Al Harbi was the man that was racing through the middle. Come out for a throw in on this near side, and it will be a long throw attempt from Lejami, who tries to
quickly winds it up. The centre halves of Al Baki and Al Amri line up inside the penalty area. Spain can't quite clear the lines, back towards the edge of the area. Then the shot comes in, he goes higher than Bob Marley, but dealt with inside the box from Rodri. Comes back out towards the halfway line. Lajami with 90 seconds left on the ball inside the Spanish half. Saudi Arabia just trying to find something in the dying embers of this first half, but they can't seem to find a way through into the Spanish half, and they'll retreat all the way back towards Al-Owais on the edge of his own penalty area. He sends it towards the right hand side, bounces once in front of Nasser on the right hand side, but the linesman's flag goes up for offside as he just managed to stray just in front of Cucurella, just behind Cucurella. Spain again down the left hand side, just trying to work it in towards the area, and again the little overlap that comes in back out towards Oyathabu, but under the challenge inside the box from Salem, who's doing the work at the back as well as trying to do it up front for Saudi Arabia. Just about puts off the Real Sociedad front man, looking for his hat-trick, just about did enough as it trickles its way through towards the keeper. And the Saudi captain gets the applause from Oyathabal, as well as a helping hand back to his feet. The 5 minutes are up here in this first half. We're just waiting for the Brazilian referee to blow the whistle for half-time as the ball goes through from Al-Owais all the way through, and that will be half-time here in Atlanta. And it's been an absolute riot from the European champions. Spain had plenty of questions to answer after the first game against Cape Verde, and they answered them almost immediately. Yamal, who's caused a world of trouble down this right-hand side, put it up to the back post came in at the back post from the Oyathabal cross. They finally found a way through rather than having attempts from the edge of the area 10 minutes into the game, and he was tucked in from Yamal, who's back inside the Spanish side. 12 minutes later, and it was 2-0, and it was poor from Saudi Arabia at the back. They failed to close down Pedro Porro, who just whipped it in towards the far left side of the 6-yard box. Cucurella's knocked down in towards Dani Olmo, was then flicked on in towards Oyathabal, who just peeled off the jammy at the back post to tuck it in for 2-0. And then came the third from a corner over on the far side, whipped in towards Oyathabal, flicked on towards the back post, wasn't dealt with once again, and then it came kindly back through to Oyathabal on the left-hand side of the penalty area, and he just tucks it in with his left boot into the far corner of the goal. The final 20 minutes of the first half was all Spain, looking to try and add a fourth in this game. Al-Owais in the goal got down to make a couple of saves, but Saudi Arabia just cannot live with this Spanish side. They're answering the questions that many were asking, and at half-time, it's Spain 3, Saudi Arabia 0, and Oyathabal is having the time of his life.
Remember to check out FootMob's social channels on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. Thank you for listening to FootMob's audio commentary. Be sure to check out player ratings, shot maps and more in-depth info on the match page. Remember to check out FootMob's social channels on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. Thank you for listening to FootMob's audio commentary. Be sure to check out player ratings, shot maps and more in-depth info on the match page. Remember to check out FootMob's social channels on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. Thank you for listening to FootMob's audio commentary. Be sure to check out player ratings, shot maps and more in-depth info on the match page. Remember to check out FootMob's social channels on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. Thank you for listening to FootMob's audio commentary. Be sure to check out player ratings, shot maps and more in-depth info on the match page. Remember to check out FootMob's social channels on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. Thank you for listening to FootMob's audio commentary. Be sure to check out player ratings, shot maps and more in-depth info on the match page. Remember to check out FootMob's social channels on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. Thank you for listening to FootMob's audio commentary. Be sure to check out player ratings, shot maps and more in-depth info on the match page.
Welcome back all to the second half here in Atalanta in Georgia, where Spain are looking to make two changes at half-time, just trying to do a little bit of number crunching on the pitch as Rafael Claus makes his way out, but it's going to be Yeremy Pino, the Crystal Palace man, who after an ACL doubt has fought his way back into the picture. He'll be coming off the bench alongside Ferran Torres, the 26-year-old Barcelona man. 21 goals in all competitions for him last season, 24 in 58 for the national side. De La Fuente's known him since he was 16 years old, not always flashy, but almost always reliable. Scored twice in Qatar 4 years ago. And those two will be the two to make their way on. As I'm just trying to work out who's coming off at the same time. You may just have to wait for VAR, not VAR, the fourth official, I should say, to confirm the players that have made their way off. And one of those is Lamine Yamal, the Barcelona man, and the other is Oyarzabal. Denied a chance at his hat-trick, Mikel Oyarzabal. Two inside that first half, 27 now in 55 international appearances for the Real Sociedad man. And also be two changes for Saudi Arabia as well, as they look to try and provide a little bit more up front. Al Hamdan will be coming on for Abdoulaye Al Khaibari, the Al Nassr man, and also coming off is Musa Al Jawar, the Al Qasadar man, and Kano will be the second man to make his way off. So two changes then for both sides at half-time. Al Khaibari, the quiet midfield glue that tends to be rarely careless, was inside that opening first 45 minutes. But two changes have been made. Pino and Torres making their way onto the pitch. Torres will occupy that role. And Oyarzabal had, and Pino also changing that, and it may change the shape of the side as well. So we'll let you know how that does change up, how the sides will set their stalls out inside this second half. And we are back underway for the second half here in Atalanta, Georgia. I should say it's Atlanta, Georgia, not Atalanta. Poor pronunciation from myself there, but I'll run you through the teams of Spain. Immediately trying to get the ball over towards that far side, and it will be Ferran Torres that occupies that front row. And Al Hamdan will come on the left-hand side, and Kano will try and occupy. Sorry, Al Hamdan will try and occupy the front row, and Kano will go into the midfield for Saudi Arabia. Al Hamdan, the 26-year-old man, plays for Al Nassr. His 51st appearance for the national team. He's the son of a goalkeeper who became a striker, still fighting for minutes, but useful for work rate and some aerial presence as well, which they certainly need at the back. They were needing it to combat against Oyarzabal inside that first half. They were having trouble keeping up, and then the long leg dynamic, occasionally combustible, but the one that every Saudi coach has been able to trust is Mohamed Kano, the 31-year-old, making his 76th appearance So there will be a change in formation for Spain, who will go to a 4-1-2-3 formation. With Simon in goal. Porro, Kubasi, Laporte and Cucurella are the back four. Rodri will be the man sitting just in front. Pedri and Olmo will then be just behind. And then it will be Pino, Torres and Baena. The three up top for Spain. And for Saudi Arabia, well, they made two changes as well, as Spain have the ball down the left-hand side with Pedri just trying to work it across towards the far right-hand side. Bringing Pino into play for the first time, puts the ball in towards the box, just bounces once in front, and Saudi Arabia will put it out for the first corner kick of the second half. And I'll quickly run you through their side. Al Owais remains in goal. Abdul Hamid, Al-Tambakti, Lajami, Al-Almira and Al-Harbi, the back five, the inverted fullbacks. Al-Dawari and Kano will be sitting just in front with Salem, Al-Hamdan and Al-Buraikan, the three that will go up top for Saudi Arabia in this second half. But the referee just halting the opportunity for Baena to get the ball into the box from the corner kick on the near side. 3 minutes gone then inside the second half, and thankfully nothing too exciting has happened to allow me to rack through those teams, the change and everything that's taken place. But it's come out towards Cucurella, and it's off the line, and it's gone into the back of the net. And it hadn't been too exciting for the opening 3 minutes of the second half, but 10 seconds later, and Spain have their fourth. They're running riot, and it's Real Madrid's new man at the far post. Baena with the corner, flicked on, went all the way through towards Cucurella, who dances in the far corner. The Saudi fans and players have their heads in their hands. The Spanish fans are enjoying this. It's Spain 4, Saudi Arabia 0, and it was as easy as you like. From the near, flicked on by a Saudi head at the near post, all the way to unmarked Cucurella at the far post. It was a fine save by the goalkeeper to get down low, Al Owais, and then it looks like it's come back off Al-Tambakti for an own goal, as it's trickled then into the corner of the net. I couldn't quite see from the angle how it found its way into the corner, as it looked like the keeper had got the save, but it will go down as an own goal, and it goes from bad to worse. It was from Cucurella's strike, and Spain quickly try and get the ball forward, looking for a fifth immediately, but Al Owais this time a little bit more on his toes to get hold of that ball. The referee continues to be Rafael Klaus, assisted by Danilo Manis, Rodrigo Correa. Andreas Noguera is the fourth official, and Nicolas Barragan is the man in VAR, who hasn't had too much to do, just a check on an Oyarzabal goal inside the first half. And Spain showing their world-class ability in this second round of this competition. They've had the star power inside the opening 45 minutes. It wasn't expected that Lamine Yamal would play the full 90. He said he was fit, he was ready, but he might not be able to make a full 90. And in the end, he didn't need to at all. Got that threat. They've also got Nico Williams as well on the bench, ready to go should they need to bring him on as well. Plenty of quality, plenty of talent in this Spanish side. Borja Iglesias, the Celta Vigo frontman with 18 goals in all competitions, yet to score for his national side, known as El Panda. He can give Spain the old school number 9 option. He's back to goal, holds it up, brings others in. Excellent when you want to have a player like that in a rugged game against a tough defence. Side against a side like Saudi Arabia, it's as easy as you like just to play it over the back line. And when you see games like this, it also might put a little bit of a worry into other sides like Uruguay, who couldn't get through this team in the opening round of fixtures in this Group H. The other games to come after this one, Plenty more exciting games as this tournament continues to rack up some surprising but also exciting results. Belgium will play against Iran in Group G, where everyone in that group as well all coming in on 1 point. New Zealand, I think the stat is they haven't lost in a World Cup since 2006. I might be completely wrong with that, but I saw a stat before the game that said that. I remember they were the only side not to lose in 2010 in the entire tournament of Spain. Find themselves behind the back line on the right-hand side again, and it's a force into a save by Alois, and on the second attempt again from Ferran Torres. This time it was Pedro Porro just getting himself behind the back line. It was a simple pass, through ball, 25 yards to make his decision about what he wanted to do, racing in towards the area, tried to go across the goalkeeper and forced him into a save, back out towards Ferran Torres, just bounced a little bit too high for him, and his header wasn't kept down. And in the end, comfortable for the goalkeeper. Uruguay, Cape Verde also go this evening in the game after the Belgium-Iran game. And then New Zealand, Egypt is the last game of the day. Wherever you are, that could be early in the morning. I don't think it's early in the morning really anywhere unless you are in some oceanic countries, Australia. I think it's early morning there. It's not a bad place to watch this World Cup, is in the Pacific countries. It's always been early morning and throughout the day. Probably the most enjoyable tournament. The Aussies have been coming over and making a hell of a noise here in America. New Zealand fans as well also enjoyed their time. Australia slowly starting to see the benefit, even if they did lose to America. The USA, I should say. America, the continent, is different to the US of A. But they started to find themselves with a bit more competition after they moved from the Oceanic region in competition to the Asian qualification processes. Putting them up against some excellent opposition in the likes of Japan, who won 4-0 yesterday. Saudi Arabia tend to do relatively well in those qualification. They were also allowed to play in the Gold Cup. Saudi Arabia, they didn't do too well in that. They finished in second place in the second round of their qualification behind Jordan. As again it comes out towards Cucurella, fires one across the 6-yard box, but there's no one there to tuck it home as Spain try to add a fifth. They lost their last game in that second round. Then in the third round of Asian qualification, they finished third behind Japan and Australia, and had to go through the fourth round where they just about squeezed through, getting there ahead of Iraq on goals scored after they drew their game together 0-0. 3-2 win against Indonesia being the key difference. Iraq getting themselves through with that point ahead of the UAE to join Qatar. Japan, Australia, South Korea and others into this tournament. There's a long ball for Spain, goes out. 10 minutes then gone inside this second half. Remember, you can watch the game on your local provider. We are an off-tube independent commentary. Our local provider will give you the pictures and we'll give you the commentary. Spain lead by 4-0 against a very lacklustre Saudi Arabian side. 20 shots to 2 is the current tally. Spain could well have had more if they forced the keeper into more saves, just 5 saves from the goalkeeper. But they are running absolute riot in this contest, are the Spaniards. Saudi Arabia, who came in with plenty of questions. Georgios Donis took over in April after the end of Hervé Renard's second spell. The preparation has been far from smooth for the Green Falcons. Scored only 7 in 10 games in the main round of qualifying, so defensive organisation is not a choice. It has really been the route they've had to go down. But when that first goal went in 10 minutes, it just opened the door for Spain. And Saudi Arabia just have not found an answer. Saudi Arabia wanted some friction. Spain wanted the rhythm, and that rhythm came out rather easily, like a fine tango. They say it takes 2 to tango. Well, Spain are doing this all on their own. Saudi Arabia with the ball just inside their own half, and the winner throwing over on the far side and able to just try and get the ball forward. Struggle to find any momentum whatsoever in this fine city of Atlanta, which hosted the 1996 Olympic Games. The Centennial Olympic Park still remains part of the city centre sporting legacy. The city is central as well to the civil rights history. Martin Luther King Jr. was born here in Atlanta. He has the National Historical Park named after him in the Sweet Auburn area, not too far from the ground. Oxford Jackson International Airport, long been one of the busiest passenger airports in the world. I think it is, in fact, the busiest airport in the world, with Heathrow just behind it in London. It's a global gateway and has been one of the focal points as fans have travelled from all across the world to be here at this competition. It's gone from an Olympic city to a football city, and he knows how to put the world through its front door. And it's Saudi Arabia who have almost invited Spain into their home unanswered. And Spain with a free kick 5 yards inside their own half as a late challenge just comes from Kano, just pulling down Rodri inside the box. It was Albert. Raikan was also involved in the challenge, but it's going to be Kano, the man who will go into the referee's book. Just tried to body check Rodri after the ball had already gone. And the Brazilian referee, Rafael Klaus, not too happy with that challenge. 15 minutes gone then inside this second half, and Saudi Arabia will line up another 2 substitutes on the near side, and Spain will also be bringing on Nico Williams as well. Coming off for Saudi Arabia is Al Amri, the man who scored in the last round, and also making his way off is Al Berkane. Al Berkane, apologies. The Al Hilal man that squeezed wide at the club level to accommodate Ivan Toney. Al Ali makes his way off for Al Heji, the man who plays at Neom in Saudi Arabia. Donis knows him well. He's a former futsal player who can shift into midfield as well. They're going to be asking plenty of him. And coming off for Spain is Dani Olmo, the Barcelona front man, and Benya as well, who will also be coming off as Spain just look to rest now. They're big talents. He used to be homesick as a kid, Alex Benya. He's transformed by Girona, and now an Atletico creator with a vision. And he makes his way off for Nico Williams for his 32nd appearance for the national team. Dani Olmo makes his way off as well for Mikel Moreno, the Arsenal man. His 45th appearance for the national side. The man with the famous Stuttgart corner flag celebration. It'll be a late arriving goal threat at late moments. And here comes Spain once again from the restart down the right hand side, driving in towards the area. It almost fell kindly towards Nico Williams. It's still inside the box, flicked over towards the far side, but the referee's going to draw it back for a foul inside the box on the Saudi man. And the other Saudi player that came on, apologies for Al-Baraikan, was Mohammed Abdul Al-Shamat, the Al-Qasida. Qadsiya, trained by his father alongside his twin. Now the fullback, Al-Hilal, were prepared to chase him. He rejected Al-Hilal to remain at the club. He continues to stay at Al-Hilal, went the entire season unbeaten in the Saudi League, didn't win it. Al Nassr just about scraped over the line. Saw that on other occasions as well. Over in Europe, Benfica went unbeaten in the league as well, and in fact finished third in the table, which I think always answers the question. It certainly does in the English Premier League of which was better, Arsenal's invincible season or Manchester City, Man United's treble. And the answer was the treble. You can go unbeaten and not win the competition, and it's not as good as winning 3 competitions, that's for sure. Saudi Arabia on the ball. 27 minutes to go. Remember to watch the game through your local provider. On this near right-hand side, though, but forced back into their own half. Here at the Atlanta Stadium, home to the Atlanta Falcons NFL team, and Atlanta United MLS side can hold 75,000 in this closed roof stadium. Doesn't quite need the hydration breaks in this ground, but we'll continue to have them nonetheless. It hosts 5 group games, a round of 32 tie, a round of 16 and a semi-final as well here. The opening game, Spain were familiar with that 0-0 with Cape Verde 6 days ago, which had nearly 68,000 in attendance. Certainly not bad. And here comes Spain once more to Torres, who can't quite get it on goal. He stabbed it past the goalkeeper, racing in behind the back line. Spain just controlling the game, controlling the ball. Moreno just fed it through once again. They're allowing Saudi Arabia some time on the ball, inviting the pressure on. Torres held his run, held it beautifully in fact, bang level with Altan Bakhti, who then couldn't keep up with him. And as the keeper, Alois, raced out to try and put him off, just about did enough. Torres got there first but couldn't quite stab it on goal, just about got past the keeper. The next game that was played here was 3 days after Spain's draw, was Czechia South Africa, which is another 1-1 draw thanks to that late South Africa penalty. And then it'll host Morocco Haiti in that Group C game, as well as then DR Congo against Uzbekistan 3 days later for Group K's finale, before we move to the knockout stages. As Spain have the ball just on the edge of their own penalty area. Rafael Claus, the referee, hasn't had too much to do with the Brazilian referee, just a couple of yellow cards. He represents the Brazilian league on the world stage, and he has done since 2015. It's his second major tournament after Qatar in 2022. He's also worked in the Copa America and youth tournaments as well. He refereed the Copa America final, in fact, back in 2024. Officials certainly under the microscope with the changes that have been made. Under the microscope as well on this near side is Nico Williams, just 6 goals in his 31 appearances for the national side before this game. His injury hit, but electric. He was one of the wide threats in the Euros in 2024. A family story that travelled from Ghana across the Sahara to Spain. Now he's making his own travels around the world, playing in competition every footballer wants to play. And he's on the ball down the left-hand side, just beats his man, tries to get it across the box, but Lajami is there just to see it out for a corner kick. For Spain, once again, their 6th corner of the afternoon. They've controlled the possession, they've controlled the game. They've controlled the scoreline since the 10th minute as well. Nico Williams takes the corner short. Lays it in to the right-hand side towards Pina. Holds on to the ball, then lays it towards Pedri. Sends it towards the far side of the box. Looking towards his midfield partner in Rodri, who's sitting a little bit deeper on this occasion, but just strays offside and allows a bit of a reprieve for the Saudi Arabians. And with that, we will have the second hydration break of the evening. And when we look at the side, Spain now certainly one of the sides that we will look at in terms of potentially winning this competition. They've shown that they certainly have the ability in this game. England opened, another one of the favourites, who will always still be burdened by waiting 60 years for their 2nd tournament win. But they got off to an excellent start with that 4-2 win over Croatia. And they already have a feeling of a team trying to turn some good vibes into something heavier. Harry Kane's Wonderwall crowd moment become part of the early England colour as they try to move away from the very dull football that Gareth Southgate had them playing. It was effective to a point, but couldn't get them over the line on more than 3 occasions and in 2 major finals. And moving into the Thomas Tuchel era of exciting attacking football, and you could see by that Marcus Rashford goal at the end the difference in quality that they have rather than sitting back and trying to see it out. We've also seen the likes of Germany with an excellent first win and then showing they can do it late on against a very good Ivory Coast side. Portugal were very lacklustre. The issues that they're seeing with the likes of Ronaldo, the off-field issues, all caused, I think, by Lionel Messi scoring a hat-trick in his first game, and Portugal not having an answer with Ronaldo, who always wants the ball. But the questions are, is a 41-year-old still good enough to play at this level? The answer is probably no. I don't really think so. He's probably more of a detriment to Portugal's golden era that they are in now, and at the hands of Roberto Martinez. Who ruined Belgium's golden generation, has been tasked to do something very similar with Portugal as Fabian Ruiz makes his way on for Pedri, the Barcelona man, who's been playing a deep role under Flick, now deeper for club and country as well. He likes to set the tempo, and he has throughout this game, makes his way off. And the final change for Spain was Fabian Ruiz, the Paris Saint-Germain midfielder, 30-year-old, making his 44th appearance. His mother used to clean boots in the Real Betis training ground. He's gone from Betis roots to PSG and Spain's midfield. He brings quite a lot of elegance, timing, and that left-footed punch from range as well. As the hydration break is finally over, with 19 minutes left of this game, 19 minutes left of torture for Saudi Arabia to have to go through. Brazil and Ancelotti, their tournament already given us the familiar theatre expectations, plenty of memes between the Endrick and Ancelotti. Probably some of the funniest things
seen in football for quite some time of those memes. A selection debate, and Ancelotti trying to manage young talent without letting the circus take over as well. Mexico and the USA already confirmed for the round of 32 knockout stage. The co-hosts still alive, Mexico, especially at the Azteca, only lost twice in 60 years at the Azteca. That was against Honduras and Costa Rica. Not the two sides you'd probably expect, but that certainly bodes well when they will potentially play, if they get to it, a quarter-final game at the Azteca as an Englishman. That's one of the games that does worry me, not counting chickens too early to expect England to get to that point. But it will be a game with many, many fans attending. The noise will be electric. England, though, do travel very, very well. Probably the best travelled fans in the world at major competitions, alongside a couple others. The Scottish have made an absolute racket where they have been. They do have a slight fetish for being loved, though, the Scottish. The English just want to enjoy themselves. A little less performative, but equally as noisy. They had a poor result, probably the two worst games of the tournament so far, the Scottish. Losing to Morocco after beating Haiti in the first round of fixtures. But 17 minutes to go in this game. He's just starting to feel all but over. Spain know that they have the 3 points in the bag. The players that are on the pitch would like to try and find something else, particularly Nico Williams, who just wins the header halfway inside the Saudi half. Brings it down towards Cucurella, who gets there first as well, and lays it back nicely in towards Fabian Ruiz, who gets his first touch since coming on a couple of minutes ago. And towards Nico Williams, who can't quite drive it past the Saudi man, just on this near left touchline as Spain attack. And it goes out for a throw, and it was Al-Shamat, the man who got down ever so well, just to put Nico Williams off. But the scoreline is there. The Spain players certainly don't want to get injured. It feels more like a training game now than anything else. The damage was done inside the opening 25 minutes. Spain continued to attack in what was an exciting first 45 minutes. And then the second half started even better than the first. And that was that, really. That's all she wrote. And Saudi Arabia just hacked the ball away from the edge of their box, and all they can really do is clear their lines. As Group H was perfectly balanced before the start of this game. The questions will now go to Uruguay of how they can answer this Spanish side, who will be going through, that is for sure. And with 4 points, even if they were to somehow finish third, which could happen if they lose to Uruguay in the last game, and Cape Verde beat Uruguay. No, it can't. Ignore me. Trying to think on the spot while looking at the table. It certainly can't. With Uruguay and Cape Verde playing each other, only one of those could pick up 3 points. Or it could, it could. If Uruguay beat Cape Verde and Cape Verde then beat Saudi Arabia, depending on the amount of goals, then they could still finish third. But any side finishing third on 4 points is certainly going to go through. 8 out of the 12 teams in third will make their way into the round of 32. And Spain, they just want to win the group. After that difficult start, the Saudi fans, though, are back to their feet. They're trying to cheer on their nation. But down the right-hand side it comes again, and it's a good interception. But all it can do is force it out for another corner kick. Another throw-in, to Spain over on the far side. Looked like it might have gone out for a corner, but the linesman said it went on the opposite side of the flag. And then good work down the left-hand side from the Saudi defence. Just plays it off Moreno. And out for a throw-in. There's Oyarzabal. Has the ball. Oyarzabal is on his knees
in the dugout, denied the opportunity to get a hat-trick in this competition. Only Lionel Messi has one so far here in 2026. Oyarzábal did have chances inside that first half, but Saudi Arabia finds something here inside the Spain half for the first time in many a moment. Al Hamdan with the ball, brings it back towards Abdul Hamid. The space just being closed down as Spain start to work their way back into position, but it's still with Saudi Arabia on the ball, with Abdul Hamid once again, goes back towards his own half. A long ball from right to left, looking towards the far side, but intercepted ever so well by Pedro Porro, who's just dominated over on that far side of the pitch. They've just not had a sniff at all. He's been counter-attacking, supporting Lamine Yamal inside the first half. Hasn't had to do too much attacking inside the second half, but has had a shot or two in this game and forced a fine save from Al Owais 10 minutes into the second half. And it's Saudi Arabia trying to put the ball in towards the box, but can't quite squeeze it through. And it's easy defensive work over on the far side by Pau Kubasi, the Barcelona man. Only 19 years of age, but already organising Barcelona's defence like he's been doing it for a decade. Won his second Liga title. And now, in his first major tournament, trying to do it as well for the national team. And it's what Spain certainly do have. So much young, wonderful quality. Kubasi just 19, Yamal 18 years old. In their prime, Pedri, or coming up to their prime, Pedri at 23, Pedro Porro at 26, Peña at only 24. As well, Gavi 21, not in this one, Pino 23, Munoz 22, Nico Williams 23 as well. Their squad is full of really young talent. There's a couple of older players in there as well. I say older, Laporte is the second oldest, the oldest on the pitch in places with 33 years old, is the oldest on the pitch. It's Laporte at 32, and then it's the goalkeepers Raya and Simon are the next. So Spain, plenty of quality in this side, and even with their young age they still have a major competition to plenty of these players already. We saw it with Yamal at 16 years old winning a European trophy with the national side, age of 16, scoring against England in the final as well as Oyarzábal. Both of those on the score sheet tonight. 10 minutes then to go in this game. Saudi Arabia allowed a little bit more possession from Spain as they work it towards this near right hand side. It's very unlikely unless they can get a win against Cape Verde in their last game, and it's certainly doable for Saudi Arabia. They're not out just yet. They need to try and find some confidence to go against Cape Verde. 4 points should see them through if they can find that win. They haven't got through to a knockout stage since they did it for their only occasion in 1994. The other 5 tournaments prior to this one, they failed to make it to the knockouts, but a win against Cape Verde in the next game would make that old American memory feel very current. Spain themselves, they've not gone beyond the last 16 at this competition since they won it in 2010. Plenty more expectation as Saudi Arabia get a shot off, and it's their first shot on target. It's easy for the keeper, but it's finally something for the Saudi fans to get behind. Al Hamdan broke his way into a central position. A 26-year-old Al Nassr striker trying to look for his 13th goal for the national team. He just opened up the space, but couldn't quite fire it past Unai Simon, who got down really well to his left-hand side. But it's the first shot on target that Saudi Arabia have had, just their 4th shot of the entire game, compared to the 21 that Spain have had so far in the first save that Simon has had to make. With Nico Williams down the left-hand side, he's got Cucurella for support, goes alone, puts a cross in towards the box, and it's another save from Alois. Came off his own man, and the referee will call the free kick. It was Al Tambaki who nearly put the ball into his own net under pressure from Ferran Torres, racing in straight behind him. He didn't have his hands on the back of Al Tambaki, but he did put plenty of pressure. Sorry, it was Pino who came racing in, but it was a lovely ball from the left-hand side. Nico Williams going alone, putting a ball into that dangerous position between the keeper and the defence. And then Pino just came in and put his body right into the back of Al Tambaki. And the referee giving the free kick to the Green Falcons, who have started to show a little bit more confidence as the game has gone on. The Mexican wave happening for the second time in the stands. We'll sort of understand it on this occasion. Saudi Arabia with a free kick inside the Spain half as Cucurella just comes across and takes out the final substitute. Takes out Mohamed Kano on this near side. Just took his legs from under him and wins the free kick. And instead of putting the ball in towards the Spanish box, halfway inside the Spanish half, they'll work it back in towards their own half, and it's sort of a waste from the Saudis. We've seen it plenty of times really this season, that the old school method of when you get a free kick, particularly when you are the underdog against a team that is far better on paper than you, to just put the ball into the box and try and test them as much as you can. You know, they're not good enough to pass it around this Spanish side. They have one of the free kick 10 yards inside the Spanish half. And Salem goes down just holding his face and has a little wry look at the referee, and the referee says, I have seen it, you can now stop a little bit of the play acting and get back to your feet. And all of a sudden he's back to his feet, unharmed and unhurt, but he was just checked. By Aymeric Laporte, the 32-year-old Bilbao man, a naturalised leader. So he's playing for Spain is the best thing to happen to him in football. Gives away the free kick, and Saudi Arabia once again tried to pass it between themselves and gave the ball away almost instantly. And Georgios Gomis, the Saudi manager, I think he's just trying to avoid his side conceding another rather than trying to find a way back. Well, there's not going to find a way back in, but trying to find a consolation goal, that's for sure. They have the ball again halfway inside their own half. Go back to the keeper though of Alois, who's had the ball, the 34-year-old Aloulat. Goalkeeper more than anybody else on his 63rd appearance for the national side. We'll just get the ball into the box. We used to always see, now it's the underdogs trying to pass it around. It's a lovely ball though towards the far right hand side. Lovely little chest down on the near corner for Abdul Hamid. Tries to get a cross in towards the box, but it's dealt with in the end by Laporte, who just cleared it out towards this near side, 2 yards off the touchline in front of De La Fuente. Spain with 11 now behind the ball with 5 minutes to go. They want to preserve that clean sheet with a second clean sheet in a row in this competition. The last time they kept a clean sheet before was when they went back to back against Egypt and Serbia. Against 10-man Egypt, 0-0. When they beat Serbia before that, 3-0 back in March. Before that Cape Verde game, so it all of a sudden has a bit of a feel-good factor in this Spanish side. But Saudi Arabia trying to find something late on here, but it's knocked down and cleared away. Cucurella couldn't quite get his foot around it. And out for a throw-in to Saudi Arabia on the near side, and they'll just take the ball and go back again towards the halfway line as Nico Williams comes across and wins the ball back once again. And sometimes it just doesn't look like Saudi Arabia really looking to even try and attack when they get hold of the ball. Saudi man has gone down, collided with his own man at the back. It was Al Shamat who has had a coming together with Al Hedji. They both went to win the ball on the halfway line, and they just had a clash of heads there. And it looks to be that Al Shamat has come off worse from it. Sorry, it was Kano who they're coming together with Al Hadji, and he's the one that's come off worst of the two. The long leg, dynamic and potentially combustible Al Hilal midfielder, his 77th appearance for the national side. He's got 8 goals, 5 goals for Al Hilal this season over in Saudi Arabia. They're just receiving a little bit of treatment on the pitch. But 2.5 minutes then to go in this game. There will be no magical comeback for Saudi Arabia whatsoever in this contest. All eyes will start to turn from Georgia Atlanta to the game coming up after this between Belgium and Iran, which takes place over in California. Another stadium that the roof will close on. And then following that game, the final 2 that will take place today. I say the final 2 were just one of the 4 games of the day. It's our favourite thing, or certainly my favourite thing about this competition. Is once you get past that opening 2 days where you only have 1-2 games a day, and you get 4 games a day, it always makes it more enjoyable. Uruguay, Cape Verde will have the attention of both of these 2 sides in Group H, and then after that New Zealand will go against Egypt over in Canada, as a final change will be made by Saudi Arabia. Kano is bandaged up and a little bit of bleeding. It looks like he'll have to change his shirt, and he's surprised if he's not going to be brought off the substitute. They're going to give him a fresh shirt, which is at least allowing him to continue, but Khalid Al-Ghanam, the Al Ettifaq man, with making his 8th appearance for the national team, will make his way on. He was a late recall, earned by pure form. His goals, assists, pace and a direct threat against tired legs. He scored 13 goals this season for Al Ettifaq in the Saudi Pro League, and he'll make his way on for Nasser Al-Dosari, the Al Hilal man, who's had a real tough time. He came off the bench to start in this contest, and we're coming up to the 90th minute. With Kukurea back on the balls, we're back underway after a couple of minutes of stoppage. We'll probably have about 7 minutes or so added on. All 10 substitutes have been made. That injury stoppage just then. I've added a minute or 2 on, but I think the referee has already made his mind up. 6 minutes will be added on, and that's a little generous, to say the least, of how much really could have been added on. But I think you've got to allow Saudi Arabia to go home, lick their wounds, and to start again for Spain. They'll enjoy these final few moments of this contest, just passing it around between themselves. The job was done inside a controlled opening 25 minutes of the game. And Laporte on the ball. 10 yards inside the Saudi half, 15 yards off this near left-hand side. Drives it in to the middle, in towards Rodri, who tries to open up the space for fellow substitute, or for substitute Mikel Moreno. Rodri certainly wasn't a substitute. It's Pedri that has made his way off, but it's over on the far side. Again, just dink back in towards Pedro Porro. Comes back across, and it's tucked away for 5. and Ferran Torres kept himself onside. The linesman over on the far side is having a look to say he's not quite sure if he was onside or not. They've given the goal for now. He'll be checked by VAR. But Ferran Torres has added a fifth for Spain as it stands. The rout is complete, and the substitute who came off the bench is hoping that he's got his first goal in this tournament. He scored twice in Qatar. Hopes that this is his first, but I think that will be ruled out for offside. If he'd left it for Nico Williams coming in behind, then it would have been given as a goal. And if it was a tighter scoreline, it may have been a little different in terms of the reaction from the fans in the stands. The referee still waiting for VAR to make a decision. The man in charge of VAR, it's his first real decision to make in the 92nd minute. Nicolas Barragan, the Brazilian. And it is certainly being checked, and taking the time to make the decision. From initial looking, it did look like he was half a yard offside. The fans in the stands on both sides are ready to go at the end of this game. Spain and their fans are ready to go and celebrate. Saudi Arabia, well, they just want to go and sleep this one off and hope for the best. There's a good ball from Pedro Porro, was tucking it behind the back line where Jamie was stood still, and the referee still waiting to hear if it is offside or not, and it's taken 2 minutes for this decision to be made. Semi-automatic offside was brought in to try and speed these decisions up, and it's certainly not speeding this up. We saw it in the Switzerland-Qatar game, but they never showed the VAR offside decision, saying that there was an issue with it, and we're hoping late on that that isn't the case again. We're 4 minutes now into the 6 added on at the end of this game. We may have another few minutes added on top of that as well, whilst we wait to find out what happens for this goal. It's not going to make a difference to whether Spain will win or not, but it just changes whether it's 4 or 5, and the referee's made his decision and VAR has as well, and it is 4-0. Ferran Torres strayed offside. Pedro Porro with a lovely ball across the 6-yard box, and it is ruled out, and it looked obvious from the first replay that we saw here. I don't know why it took Nicolas Barragan too long to make that decision, but eventually he got the decision, and I think he got it right. Well, Ferran Torres is chasing down, as is Nico Williams, who I said moments ago, if he'd left it for him, Ferran Torres, it would have been 5, and it would have been an excellent victory for the Spanish here as Saudi Arabia tries to get the ball forward. It comes up Cucurella, and out comes Unai Simon just to put the ball into the stand and out of play. So we'll see how much time will be added on at the end of these 6 minutes. The referee's kind to Saudi Arabia. He will just call it in 40 seconds when that 6 minutes is up. But if he wants to play to the letter of the law, then he'll have to play another 2 to 3 minutes as Rodri inside his own box just knocks it back with the head to his goalkeeper rather comfortably. That midfield engine that he has, the Ballon d'Or winner. He's managed his fitness back after his ACL injury. If he's fit, Spain have their control tower. If he's not, the whole midfield conversation changes. In his 64th appearance for the national team. Does have 4 goals to his name, 2 this season as well for Manchester City, the 29-year-old who once went over 70 games without defeat for club and country, which was quite frankly an incredible record. Some did try to continue it, but it was a penalty defeat that he lost to. And then a few tried to move the goalposts and say, well, it was only inside 90 minutes, but personally don't count that. You lose, you lose. You're not in a competition anymore because you're out on penalties. Unfortunately, that is a loss, and as an Englishman, I know that more than anybody else on the international stage, that penalties mean you're out. Seen that in finals, seen it across tournaments. We're a minute over the 6 added on. The referee playing a little bit more time. Comes back out towards Kubasi. In towards Moreno. Back out towards the right-hand side. Whip back in towards the box. This time Ferran Torres left it for Nico Williams, but Abdul Hamid was lively to get his head onto it on the far left-hand side of the penalty area. As Cucurella comes over to take the throw, and in Spain will just work it back inside their own half. And the referee, jogging, has one look at his watch. Spain are just waiting for the final whistle to go. Just going to pass it between themselves. Cucurella sees it through to Nico Williams. The referee not happy that the game's done just yet, but Nico Williams won't go forward with it. He'll just go back inside his own half. Back towards Laporte. Spreads it from left to right, and the runner comes in over on the far side from Fabian Ruiz. Back in towards the edge of the area. Pedro Porro with his left boot tries to curl one around to goal, but it's blocked by the first man, and then the referee will halt the game and then finally blows the full-time whistle, and it's as comfortable as you like for the Spanish. It started as they meant to go on. The first 10 minutes they absolutely dominated, and then Yamal tucked in at the far post to open the scoring after Oyarzábal's cross came from the left after breaking the Saudi back line. 2-0 then came, and Oyarzábal went from provider to scorer. A corner flicked on at the near post by Oyarzábal. It wasn't quite dealt with. Came out towards Dani Olmo. His shot took a flick on the way through from Laporte. Oyarzábal was onside on that first flick from Laporte, and he poked it home to double Spain's lead. He then doubled his own goal tally just 2 minutes later. The frontman came in. Pedro Porro was allowed all the time in the world to pick out Cucurella at the far left-hand side of the 6-yard box. His knock back towards Dani Olmo, then flicked on in towards Oyarzábal, who tucked it home from 2 yards out. The rest of the first half was dominated by Spain. Saudi Arabia didn't even have a shot on goal. They could have had 4, they could have had 5, but they put every opportunity they had over the top of the bar. But at the start of the second half, there was that 4th goal. Another corner, this time flicked on by a Saudi head, went all the way through towards Cucurella. His volley was saved by Alouez, but then bounced off the back of Al Tambakti and went into his own goal. The rest of the game was more of a formality. Saudi Arabia did eventually get a shot in on Unai Simon, but it was more of a half attempt from the edge of the box. Ferran Torres strayed offside in the 92nd minute to have a 5th ruled out for Spain, but it's as comfortable as you like, and the questions of Cape Verde have been answered against Saudi Arabia. It's finished Spain 4, Saudi Arabia 0. Goodbye.
Remember to check out FootMob's social channels on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. Thank you for listening to FootMob's audio commentary. Be sure to check out player ratings, shot maps and more in-depth info on the match page. Remember to check out FootMob's social channels on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. Thank you for listening to FootMob's audio commentary. Be sure to check out player ratings, shot maps and more in-depth info on the match page. Remember to check out FootMob's social channels on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and TikTok. Thank you for listening to FootMob's audio commentary. Be sure to check out player ratings, shot maps and more in-depth info on the match page.